It is Monday, August 2nd, 2021, and this is the iPhoneography podcast. Hi, everyone. This is episode 40 of the iPhoneography podcast, and my name is Greg McMillan, and I am joined by my fellow blue shirt with white stripes buddy and co-host, Dave Podnar. Hi, Dave.
Hey, Greg, how's it going today?
Good. And no, we did not discuss what we were wearing. So
but just to make sure, just to make sure no one gets confused, you got the vertical, I have the horizontal.
There you go.
And people get confused, like, wait a minute, who's that person talking with the blue shirt with the white stripes?
Yeah, we should almost change our names to horizontal and vertical. We are going to wrap up our discussion on the various iPhone cameras. We've covered macro, which was basically an add-on thing, but unless you're talking about Camera Plus 2, where it has a macro feature built in. Mm-hmm. And then we went to the wide angle, the telephoto, the ultra wide, and there's only one left to talk about, and that is the selfie camera. Now, I'm not a big user of the selfie camera, but you've played around with it a bit, and so kind of give us an idea of what your thoughts on it are.
Sure. And this is something that I've used it a lot for, especially if you're going places and you want to have yourself in the shot. And for us olds, remembering that before cell phones with front-facing cameras, that was pretty much impossible. Because a lot of times you want to show your reaction to where you are, or you want to show scale. Because it's really hard a lot of times to show, scale, or like you're in a crowd and you want to show your reaction, where that's really hard. Like if you got a traditional camera or something, you're only seeing what's pointing out from your face. Mm-hmm. And you want to show the crowd around you, or you want to show the size, or you want to show your reaction while something's going on. Until we had the selfie cam, it really didn't. And I know everyone brands it a certain way, but it's a selfie cam. Can only do certain things. I use it a lot for crowd shots when I'm at races. Because, depending on the race, depending on how I'm doing, I can not too hard to pull it out of my pocket. As we know, and hopefully everyone knows, if you have a camera, if you flick from this side, you get the camera immediately.
From the lock screen, yeah.
Right. No, actually from the right side to the left.
Yeah, but it's when your phone's locked though, right? Yeah.
Right. When your phone's locked, or just on the lock screen. Knows my phone's unlocked, but it's still, or you can hit the little button down here for the camera.
Right.
Let me unlock it there. But for the button, it has to be unlocked. So that way you can say, oh, I'm just going to do a quick shot and something's going on. I can flick over and then just hit the little button on the bottom there to flick it around. Now we get confuse everyone with the shot within the shot here.
Yep.
So like I said, I've used that, like I'm in the middle of a group and we want a group shot, or I want to show people behind me and faces instead of seeing the back of people's heads, which is kind of a nice thing. And they've gotten better and better. And I think especially in the last 18 months, people are realizing these front-facing cameras are a lot more important when you want to communicate with people, and you can't do it physically face-to-face.
Yeah, I mean, and more so this last year and a half, right?
Exactly. So like Ruth's parents, they have flip phones. They don't have smartphones. Mm-hmm. And so if they want to talk to us, we'll talk on the phone. But if we had, if they had an Android phone or an iPhone, we could either Skype, FaceTime, Zoom, somehow a Facebook Messenger chat, however, whatever platform you like, but you could communicate with someone, if you're a certain age, there was the phone of the future, which looked like this big old massive thing that was on a desk with push buttons and a handset and a video screen. And of course, back when that was the whole thing was kind of being developed, it was the big CRT tube and not even a flat, and that's how you would talk on the phone. You would walk over to where your phone would be and pick it up, and you would video chat, and somehow sneakily, which no one really saw coming, it's like, oh, we developed that technology. By the way, it's only used some of the time. Most of the time people are just texting now or chatting or doing something else. But, it's getting better and better. But I think, especially from early 2020 on, the whole, we're all locked down, so we have to really use our front-facing cameras if we want to see someone talk, caught everyone off guard. And I think all phone maker, all smartphone makers are now trying to play catch up and get the best, because not only, let's say, communication, just talking to someone, meetings, if you have, if you went back in time to early 2020, let's say January, and said, hey, I'll call you on Zoom, most people would be, what's a Zoom?
Yeah.
Is Zoom like Skype? Is it like what is Zoom? Now it's a, you
now
talk
it's a
to
verb
people
almost.
Exactly. I'm going to Zoom you. But how many times have you seen people on Zoom blur their background because it's messy, or they want to have, I know we have Zoom meetings at work. Now, admittedly, we're using laptops, but you could use your phone just as easy.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And to
there's a Zoom app in CarPlay.
Yeah.
For audio, it's audio, but I mean, that's how far it's going, right?
Yeah. But to have the augmented reality background, where all of a sudden it's not just blurred behind you, you're on a beach, or you can put your own background, you can import your own picture and you're looking behind the scene somewhere, or and so I think that caught a lot of people off guard. And now it's like, oh, this is something that we may have to, even, assuming we get enough people vaccinated, or they keep masking and vaccinated and mask, and things get back to, I don't want to say normal, pre-pandemic, where people are more into going into work and, remote, but there's still going to be a portion of people who are like, I'm not going back. In fact, Apple got some major pushback when they said, everyone's back in the office, and everyone's like, I don't want to.
Yeah. Yeah. And then they've relaxed that a little bit, but yeah, you're right.
So, now we're going to have to think, okay, these front-facing cameras, which were just a joke, the let me take a selfie.
For the duck faces and the peace signs and all that.
With the selfie sticks, now all of a sudden turn into a business device. You're now, I'm going to use my phone now to my front-facing camera, not just to do selfies, but I'm going to do presentations on my phone or my iPad, or I'm going to do live streams from somewhere. Well, that's your front-facing camera probably. And, the fact that I think it will be up. And the one thing that Apple has, and I know when the iPhone 10 came out, people hated the notch.
Yeah.
Okay. People hated the notch. And it's like, well, they could have just made it a black bar across, but it looked distinctive. Apple knows branding. So they know if they leave that little notch up there, people are like, oh, that's obviously an iPhone. Just like when they came out with the original Apple headphones, struck white.
Yeah.
Because everybody knew they were Apple. Because
and even their ad campaign for those, you can tell that's exactly what they're advertising.
Yeah. But the front-facing camera now, but with the iPhone 10 on, with the TrueDepth, now you can do a lot better. It's not only, first of all, you don't need two cameras to get a nice portrait mode, because it's TrueDepth and shooting on your face. basically you can do that really well, really quickly without having two cameras and dealing with Zoom,
Yeah, that's
or
right.
do something, when they came out with the Memoji,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
I don't know how many people use on a day-to-day basis, but it was also a
Well,
technology.
the real Indian dad on Instagram uses it all the time. He
Okay.
never reveals his true appearance.
He just
He's
uses the
always got his
Memojis.
Memoji on there. Yeah,
Yeah,
which
I
is,
know that.
it's a pretty cool gimmick, I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
know there's.
so for you to for you, like you like to play around with these apps like clips and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Do you do that very often?
I honestly, for clips, not so much for the front-facing camera. Even though
Okay.
I do know they have the really cool augmented reality, which, and this is something we were talking about before, was it, and unfortunately this has changed with the last update, where it looks like the license from Disney and Lucasfilm and Pixar may have been adjusted, where
Right.
you were able to sit in the Millennium Falcon or sit in certain areas or go into certain street scenes, and now they're just, I don't want to say generic because they're still really amazing, but they're non-branded
Yeah, yeah,
areas you're in now. So, but no, those are really neat. I just haven't found a use for them per se,
yeah.
just because a lot of times I use clips as an iMovie replacement.
Oh, that's interesting.
So a lot of times I'll, like, from the last race I was at, I was able to download, and they gave us free, which yay, very thank them very much, for, free pictures from the official photographers from the race.
Oh,
So I
okay.
was able to make a slideshow, but instead of using iMovie, I use clips.
And do you find that easier to
It's a
use?
little bit easier to use. It's a little easier in terms of getting the timing down for slideshows,
Okay.
where it's a little harder when you want to adjust the timing in iMovie, where you have to click on it and expand it, and it's just easier to deal with. It's just a little
Okay.
easier to, for something you want to do, like, oh, here's 6 pictures. I'll throw a slideshow up. I'll throw some stickers on there. The stickers are a nice little additional touch too.
Yeah.
You can add the little stickers, you can add little slides. It's a little bit easier. But now, in terms of when I want to do some weird kind of um, front for the front facing, Snapchat to me is still the best,
Oh, yeah. Okay.
because, and it does use not only the front facing camera, but it does use the depth, and you can actually, it does an amazing job in terms of placing it on your face, tracking it, um, and getting what's out there. So, and
Okay.
like I said, I can see Apple pushing that front-facing camera again. I can see it getting pushed more. And of course, the big rumors with the iPhone 13 is making the notch from that size to that size. You're
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Shrinking it down a little bit.
okay, yeah, you shrink it down, it's still there. I mean, you see some
Well,
Android
maybe
phones.
by the iPhone 16 it might be gone.
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, there are some Android phones which have the underscreen camera, which still doesn't work 100%. It's
Right.
still
Yeah.
not that good.
That's why
Because
Apple's not doing it.
exactly, because it's physics. There's only so much you can do with manufacturing and putting the micro dot. Like you said, a couple years with experimentation and knowing this and doing this and doing this, and it could be great for, and you'll see a full screen. But
Yeah.
right now, the closest we've seen some Samsung phones, I think, and some others, including the new Pixel coming out, they have the hole punch. But the hole punch is great only if you only need the camera, not if you need, the TrueDepth sensor and the receiver, and Apple has the headphone, not headphone, but it has the speaker up there.
Right.
There's only, again, there's only so much you can do in the realm of physics that's limiting you.
Yeah.
And same thing with the front-facing camera, because there, where you're at there with the camera, there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's around there too. And you notice the front-facing camera is also unlike unlike the back one where you have a bump, which helps a
Right.
lot with the, you have no bump. You physically really can't have a bump there because it'll just be pumping against, someone's head.
Yeah,
So,
for sure.
And like I said, the things are getting better and adjusting, but for me, when I use the selfie, now one thing that Ruth uses a selfie a lot for is her jewelry business, because she'll do things like, oh, hey everyone, it's just to, hey, here it's Wear It Wednesday, show me the jewelry you have. And one thing which I don't think a lot of people realize, that when you do turn the selfie camera on, now mine's on the upper part here, I think they may move it depending on if you have a newer one or not, but the thing that looks like a watch, a stopwatch, that's a countdown timer. So you either get 3 seconds or 10 seconds. So if you select it there, the nice thing is, you notice you got the countdown on screen.
Yeah.
So if you want to actually do a decent shot, you don't have to hold it up, trying to use 2 hands. And then if you hit it, but if you jiggle the screen, you can hit the button and then steady yourself, which is a nice little touch. Also, if you hold the camera upside down.
Okay.
Because you figure if you hold it this way, you're holding at the bottom, you have all the weight on top. And if this jiggles a little bit, the whole camera moves. You hold it upside down, your button's at top, but gravity, this is similar to like using an old-fashioned regular camera and letting the gravity, work with you to help steady the camera. This helps steadies it. So if you do this, you can steady it. And the other thing you notice is when you're doing the countdown timer, you do get a flash.
Yeah, we saw that.
Because it works on both sides. So it's the same idea if you're doing the countdown timer on the back facing or front facing camera. So if you're doing a picture of someone, you put a timer on there, you get that flash every second. So they're used to know when the camera's going to take a picture. So,
well, let's, I got my phone sitting here staring at me. Okay. I'm staring at myself. We'll just show just a couple of little features of clips.
Okay.
And I'll go this way. And now you can probably see my
there we go
blue striped shirt, right? Okay, so basically I'm not gonna go through every feature here because I'm not familiar with it really, but you hit the little star and then you've got a list of things here. Now this is where you can find your emoji.
There we go.
There I am, large as life, and the mouth moves, and even if I wink with one eye will wink
we go.
back.
That works.
Yeah. And then of course you've got your animals. You almost have to hold it like at arm's length to get the whole thing in.
Yeah, they're a little bit wider.
Yeah.
And of course you can make the emoji not look like you too.
Oh yeah. You can.
So I mean, you can make your own. Kind of one doctor online. I think he goes by Dr. Z. Last name's kind of long, but he, as a medical doctor, he'll use different of the emoji animal characters.
Yeah.
Like the one, like the octopus is the one who works down in the in the lab.
Right.
So he actually uses that as part of his educational outreach.
Yeah. So this these are some different film looks and things like that. Filters, I guess you could call them.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm just discovering this myself, as I do it. So if I kind of go speechless, it's because I'm kind of taken aback at how it looks like.
Well, I don't. I know this isn't directly related to the selfie camera, but I don't think a lot of people realize how powerful clips can be.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Because the thing that you just passed over. Okay, this is the
It's like, wallpapers, I
Yeah,
guess.
the different, well, those are the different scenes. So if you
Yeah.
actually move around, like there, if you actually move, you move the camera around, you can
Yep.
actually see like different areas, or you can move your head. It's actually, there's a scene and it's actually placing in front of it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Now, the only thing is that only works with the selfie camera.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, that was
But
neat.
it works. You kind of figure at one time when you needed a green screen and everything else, and you need, and you're basically doing it and you're downloading a lot. Oh, okay. There's a
Yeah.
Pixar thing right there.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
the
The
Incredibles.
Incredibles. How cool is that?
And it's, like I said, the fact that we're able to do this on a phone is pretty amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, for
But
sure.
now, if you do the thing just to, and it's hard to say, is that to your left or right? The thing that looks like a thought bubble.
That looks like what? Sorry.
It looks like a thought bubble.
Oh, there. Okay.
Okay. So the neat thing here is as you're talking,
It will put on the screen what I'm saying.
right now, I don't know if
Oh,
you
it's while
need,
you're recording.
yeah,
Okay. You have to be
yeah.
recording. So I can't record because we're in a Zoom call. It
Okay,
won't
yeah.
let me record.
So, and then you can adjust it after the fact, and it has
Yeah.
different things you
Oh,
can
yeah.
do here. Now, this has been out for a while, and it does it a pretty good job on it too.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's more of like,
That's cool.
yeah. I mean, honestly, Clips is like every other, almost like every other Apple app, free.
Yeah.
Doesn't take up a lot of space, and like I used, and I posted this to my Instagram and my Twitter. I did a little slideshow, like I said, of the run I just recently had. Yeah, and then that's the other thing. There's some pretty amazing tracking going on. That does so much better in the front facing because it has the TrueDepth sensor.
Yeah. 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 It works really well.
Mm-hmm. But I made a little slideshow out of it, and I put some extra stickers in there, and not just stickers, but really dynamic looking stickers, where
Yeah.
things would pop up and bubbles would pop up and things would move around. I was able to put that together relatively quickly without a lot of effort, and I was able to do it on my phone. So definitely give that a try.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely an interesting thing to play with.
Mm-hmm.
I gosh, I could, if I tried to count how many times I actually used the selfie camera for anything, like even
Yeah.
like selfies, I hardly ever use it, admittedly, but but I could see where there could be a lot of fun,
Mm-hmm.
a lot of fun to be had with it.
Well, not only that, if you
So
have animal, if you want to a picture of you holding your animal or interacting,
yeah,
the selfie camera
yeah,
makes it a lot easier.
yeah. I think the last time I used it was probably 3 weeks ago or so, and we were in the car, and our dog likes to sit on the console in between the two
Okay.
seats. That's her little perch, I call it. And so she sits there and looks around. She's my little co-pilot. And so I thought, well, my wife was in a store or something, and I thought, well, I'll put up the selfie cam and I'll take the picture of me and the
Now,
dog. That's the last time I did it.
obviously, while parked.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, like I
Obviously,
said,
while
we're
parked,
waiting
we'll throw
for
that out.
we're
Yeah,
sitting
we're
there
for
waiting
the
for my
store.
wife in the store. So
Now, the other
got
thing,
that covered.
the other thing is if you go to your Photos app and you go
Yeah.
down here to your albums,
Oh
and you
yeah,
scroll
there's
down,
one.
there is a selfie. So all your selfies
Yeah.
are there. So everything you took a selfie of, you can see a lot of pictures of Ruth there because, like I said, she's doing it for her. But I'll use, like I said, I'll use it for like this was earlier in May at a run I was at. Just if you want to have a reaction shot to what's going on, It's the easiest way to do it there. And sometimes, it's a lot of times it's just easier to get pictures of animals.
Yeah.
With the selfie there. Because instead of moving the camera around, like and especially she tends to be in front of me a lot, sitting on the keyboard, I can just hold this up and have the, instead of getting the phone turned around, I just have it face her. And just take her picture that way. Because a lot of times, like you said, especially if you're taking pictures of animals, so it's a little bit less quality. And don't forget, you do have the option to do live photos too with selfies even. But yeah. So I mean, that just makes a big difference. It's just like, here's me and Charlie. It was just easier for me to get a picture, because when I know you can use the watch and you can do the visibility on the watch, but a lot of times it's easier just to hold it here, look out of the corner of your eye, and then focus, and then boom.
Yeah.
I can imagine with babies, the same thing too.
Yeah. Another good use for the selfie cam, before we'll just wrap it up with this, is with video. You can record simultaneously on the later iPhones. I'm not sure about the 10 or even the 10s, but with the 11, I'm pretty sure it started. And obviously with the 12 and whatnot, but you can open up like Filmic Pro and record video from the front facing and the rear cameras, like as if you're doing an interview. And like if you and I were sitting in the same room, 6 feet away from each other, I could have the phone sitting right directly in between us, and I could be recording both of us for this podcast. And who knows, maybe we are. But there's another good solid use case for it, when it comes to doing video.
Right. And they do have an app that's, you don't even have to get the full-blown Filmic.
That's right. It's a double take.
That's what I was looking up. It's a double take, and that's at no cost.
Yeah.
Now to do the let's see here. Multi is restricted to iPhone 11 Pro Max, Pro 11, 10s Max, 10s, 10R, SE2, iPad Pro 2018 and 2029. I didn't realize about the iPad Pro.
Oh yeah.
So if you have the iPad Pro, it will work there, which I will. That is something I have to mention to Ruth and see if she's interested in that. Yeah, so that would be something to try at least, or at least to play with. But yeah, now unfortunately, it doesn't work on my phone because I only have a 10. Yeah, but I know Filmic Pro is a good company, so it's going to be quality.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, I think that wraps it up on the selfie camera. Like I say, I don't use it a whole lot. Maybe after the discussion, I might play around with it a little bit, try to get more pictures of the dog. But so before we started recording, you brought something into my attention that I hadn't heard of yet. Yep. Of course, I was working today and I wasn't able to get into the news or anything. But tell us a little bit about what you're hearing about the Pixel.
Yep.
Not iPhone, but I mean, still, we like to talk about this stuff too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Not only that, the thing to remember is that everyone shares from everyone else. Wink, wink, nod, nod. Share from everyone else. So if you're going to see something that is on the Pixel, now, the thing to remember is that I think the iPhone, when it comes out, which it will come out in around 6 weeks, right? Hold on. August, mid-September. It's always mid-September the new iPhones comes out. So it's going to come out, since we're in August, 6 weeks away. There's another thing. Unless you need a new phone, like your current phone dies, don't buy a new camera. Don't buy a new phone yet. Even if you don't want the newest of the new, they will lower the price and have deals out. But they know it, anytime new iPhone comes out, it just sucks the air out of the room for anything else. So, I mean, it is, it is the 800-pound gorilla. So what Google's done is a controlled leak of information about the new Pixel 6. Now, I've never used a Pixel. I've seen people take pictures of them. It's a good, at least up, the previous versions have been good, mid-level. And honestly, if I had to get an Android device, I would get a Pixel because it's the best supported. Because you don't have to worry about, oh, there's a new version of Android. Okay, I have to now wait for Motorola, or I have to wait for Samsung or HTC to work their magic on it. And then it has to get approved by which I know it's better than it was, but it's still not like, hey, new version of iOS is out. I'm downloading it now. It's, oh, new version's out. I'll wait for the 3 steps of approval. Otherwise, I'm going to have to, hack my phone to put it in there and side load it. But the new Pixel, first of all, and this is not a render, this is what it looks like. So I kind of like the look of the two-tone, because it's like the red has the pink, and I don't know, and I don't think they've announced how so there's 2 different sizes, so some have a little bit more of a head than the others here too.
Oh yeah, okay. I never noticed that.
There's an XL and there's a L. So I mean, there's screen differences, there's material differences, there's screen size differences, refresh rate differences, that type of thing. But for the camera, now the base one, apparently they've done, of course, Google can only do so much with the hardware. They even said in the interviews I've seen posts, I'll say, up to now we have not had a flagship level hardware quality material. That's why they're, I want to say, only $500-$600 and not in the thousands. Well, they think this is going to be flagship, and we all know when the iPhone 13 comes out, it's going to be, let's say Pro, because we're talking flagship, we're talking $1,000 US. So this is going to be pricey. But now the normal Pixel 6 will have a standard and wide camera, just like the iPhone. And just like the iPhone, the Pro will have a telephoto. But they're going to have a periscope or foldable, or however they want to call it. So you're going to be able to get 4x optical, which is nice. That's nice. And now you say that you saw there's still rumors that Apple could do that with the iPhone coming out.
I've heard rumors about it. I mean, I tend not to believe it, but I've heard.
Just because this, even though I think they're going to call it the 13, this is pretty much a 12S. In terms of hardware, the camera's going to be tweaked and better. The screen's going to be the bigger update, because I think it's going to be 120, variable rate hertz like the iPad Pro.
And I've heard always on display too. So
right. But
things like that,
But I don't see them changing the chassis, and I think you would need a chassis change to have that periscope lens. Well,
I've heard a bigger camera bump too. So which is very doable, right? Without changing too much else in the chassis.
Yes, I can't make it too big, because then you run into scratching issues, case issues, and other things. Especially for an S level, if you will. But the software, where Google always does better, is a little more impressive, because they showed as in they showed the reporter, but they didn't allow the photo to be released. So we're taking the word of the reporter, which I trust the reporter, but I still, if you're saying, wow, this new amazing thing, good, show it to me. Well, we can't do that until it's released. Okay, I'll wait. But there was a picture of a baby moving across the floor, and they were able to combine the regular camera with the ultra wide, but using the ultra wide in a super fast frame to get a clear shot of the baby's face. So it used both cameras at the same time, not only different depth and different zooms, but different I know there's not a real shutter speed difference. It's all software, but it's kind of a different shutter speed difference to, put it to what it's kind of doing here. and differences. And of course, it'll be better with low light and everything else. So, I mean, there'll be improvements. But if they release this in the next, let's say, couple of weeks, and I don't think there is a release date yet. I mean, don't get me wrong. These also are going to be big freaking phones. The regular is going to be 6.4 and the Pro will be 6.7 inch.
And I think that's the same as the 12 Pro Max, I believe.
Yeah.
Is it not?
I believe so. But either way, they're large. And as it says, it's going to have a thin bezel, which everyone loves thin bezels now. And it's going to have a whole bunch camera, which there's rumors of Apple doing that next year or year after. You know, of course, they want to do an under-screen camera, but physics stops you an awful lot. So, but if you look at the pictures here, you know, you got the Pro and you got the Pro is, you know, it's got a little bit more of a forehead here just because it's a bigger phone.
Yeah.
And the colors are a little more boring than the plain Pixel. It's kind of what Apple did with the iPhone versus the iPhone Pro, which is a shame because I want the pretty colors in the Pro. I want the nice blue or the green or whatever. I like that in the Pro size.
Yeah.
I don't want to have to go with a muted color, but yeah, this is the fact that they're pushing this out now. I can't. Okay, there's a nice shot of the peachy Pro there, but I can see Apple pushing. Of course, they're always going to push, but you know, it's like they're going to push maybe to have more active sharing between lenses, where maybe you'll notice it a little bit more, and that's more of a hardware, not necessarily being. And this is the one advantage Apple has, of course. Not hardware as in the camera, but they can specifically make part of the chip that will specifically in hardware, not software, but in hardware, work on the cameras working together a little bit better. Yeah. That would be nice to see.
Yeah. And I'm going to assume that everything is going to be on device now, like as far as processing and stuff like that. I think
so, because,
I mean, when the Pixel first came out, portrait modes were uploaded, processed, and then sent back to the phone and all that stuff. But I mean, since then they have started doing stuff like that on device. So I'm, you know, for them not to continue that would be, I think, a very big mistake. So I'm pretty sure they're going to keep everything on device, and that's a good thing. You know, that's the way it should be. You know, the processors and stuff nowadays are more than able to do something like that. So you know, that's interesting. It'll be interesting now. Shane Mostyn in Australia, he does a lot of astrophotography with all these different phones. He has the iPhone 12 Pro Max, the Samsung Galaxy S20 or S21 Ultra. He has the Pixel 5, and he has the Huawei P40 Pro. And they all have their merits, but I think the iPhone is really lacking when it comes to astrophotography.
Right.
The Pixel 4, I think it's the Pixel 4 he has, maybe? I said Pixel 5.
Yeah.
I think it may be.
Well, no, the 5's the latest, but the 4 was the 4A, where they came out after. That was the best. They took a step back from the 4A to the 5.
That's right. Yeah.
To save money.
I think he has the 4A.
Yeah.
And that thing takes like 4 minutes to do an exposure for the Milky Way. And it does a really good job of not giving star trails in the process. The Huawei P40 Pro is pretty darn amazing with you know how it does the Milky Way and stuff. That's mostly what he does for astrophotography. And the iPhone, like I say, it's just behind. So I'm hoping when the 13 comes out, it's going to have some, you know, massive improvements. And here's one for you. He noticed his 12 Pro Max taking better photos of the Milky Way recently, and he wondered if there wasn't some kind of update or something done to the camera.
Yeah.
But one of the commenters on his YouTube channel said, nope, that's machine learning. The phone is learning what he's shooting, and since he does a lot of astrophotography, the phone is learning how to do that better. And I found that interesting. And that comment came from someone who has a brother-in-law that works at Apple on the chips. So I would say that's a pretty darn good answer.
Yeah. But that is the one disadvantage of everything being on device, though, because it would be nice to know to use all the learning that the machine learning algorithm learned from him to say, by the way, I'm going to now upload this. So if the device knows you're taking a picture of the Milky Way, it can use what that person learned and what that person learned and so you don't have to take hundreds of shots.
Yeah, that's right. But I guess it more suits what you do, right?
Right.
That would be an awesome idea. That it's too bad you couldn't bundle up some machine learning data and just send it off to somebody. That would be cool.
Well, that was the one advantage of Google having everything done at their server was everyone went to the central server. But if you were out of range, or if your data was your data connection was bad, or like you said, it took 4 minutes, but because it had to go to the device, they had to do its processing and fling it back. And that's a lot of data movement.
Yeah. You'd run out of data in your plan pretty quick if everything was that way. But Pixel 6, I think, is going to be it'll be really interesting to see what Shane does. I'm sure he'll get one. He likes to get them all and try them out, right? Because that's what he does. And it'll be very interesting to see. I mean, not just the astrophotography part of it, but it'll be really interesting to see how it performs compared to all the other flagship phones. And you said too that the price wasn't going to be as low as before, right?
Oh no. Where before I think they were saying, well, this is our reference platform and we're going to put good things in it, but we're going to put commodity chips and commodity parts and not in build wise. It's not, we understand it's not here, but it's good. Well, this is going to be expect 4 digits.
Yeah.
Not the $500-$600.
It's about time, Google. It's about time they did that because, a phone that has a camera that good shouldn't feel like a cheap phone,
right?
Right. It should feel like a device worth its weight.
It will be interesting to see if they're somehow affected by the global chip shortage also.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, Apple does have the advantage of having all the money, literally all the money. And so they can go to these chip manufacturers from the chips they design, but remember, they don't actually make any of them. But they can go to a chip manufacturer and say, oh, by the way, we're going to need 100 million chips or 400 million chips next year to be built. Here's a stack of money. We're taking we're not only going to take all of your resources and we're going to take the entire run, we will design machines that will make the chips. Because a lot of those machines that make those Apple chips were designed by Apple and then given to the manufacturer. And Apple, because they have all the money, they can do that kind of thing, where Google, even though Google still has all the money, but they still won't throw it around and say, by the way, they'll work with a manufacturing partner and say, well, here's what we want to do. We'll work with you. We'll get this going, but you're involved with the manufacturing of it as long as you hit what we want.
Yeah.
Where, you have that story from the very first iPhone. And they had the prototype, and this is only like a couple weeks before it was released or before it was introduced. And, Steve Jobs had it in his pocket and it had a plastic screen, because who's going to put a glass screen on a phone, it'll crack, and especially something as large as 3.5 inches.
Yeah.
But he noticed it got scratched kind of easy and looked dull, and it didn't feel, upper end. He said, change that to glass. So they went to Corning, got the Gorilla Glass, and they made it work with. And that was only, I think, remember, like a month or so before they got on the say, it's not 3 devices, it's 1 device. And of course, no one could touch it. Yeah. But no one could touch that device because it was barely running the software at the time, which we only found out later. That was not ready for mass production. And that was still 6 months before mass production. But,
because it was announced in June and it released in January, I think, wasn't it?
Or it was the other way around? It was announced in January at Macworld.
Right. Okay.
And it was released to the world in June.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was released at WWDC or around WW.
Yeah.
The very first one, all those many, many years ago.
Yeah. Oh, wow. What is it? 14 years ago now. 2007.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy. Well, I think we got ourselves a show. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Sure. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter as Prof Pod, and on the Facebook group as Dave Podnar Jr. Facebook group, I should say, for tiny shutters, where I'm most active when it comes to photography.
Right. Okay. And you can find me on Instagram at Macmillan Photo, on Twitter, Macmillan_photo, and just about everywhere else. You could probably go to about.me/Macmillan, and that'll be all my online links and stuff like that. So you can find the Artful Eye photography community Artful iPhoneography community on MeWe, and the quick link to get there is artfulipc.club. And it's not as active as it should be, but it's still not bad.
Oh yeah.
We still do a few things. I try to keep up to it, but it's so hard. I should almost get somebody who's willing to be an admin and just let them go nuts with it.
Well, we do this, like with the podcast. We do it for fun. We don't do it as a job or so.
Oh yeah. It's a labor of love.
Yeah. So that's why, paying, as I heard one person call it, paying those little gimmicks you get in the month every week called bills, and the fact that we're all addicted to food, clothing, and shelter.
Yeah.
As much as we appreciate everyone who listens.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. And you can now, as you know, this show is on YouTube. I don't have enough street cred, I guess you could say, to have a personalized YouTube link yet. But if you go to YouTube and look for the iPhoneography podcast, you'll find it there. We get a little more visual with what we're talking about. So, I'm sure audio listeners who, if you're still with us, sat through that part about clips. Apologies, but if you want to see what we were talking about, go to the YouTube channel and have a look. And we've got about 4 shows, I think, there now. This should be number 5, I think. And the podcast lives on iPhoneography.ca. We go about once every 2 weeks, or try to, if life doesn't get in the way. And let's see, you can find the podcast on the Apple Podcasts app, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Anchor, just about anywhere where you get your podcast, you should be able to find it. Just search for the iPhoneography podcast, and you'll find us. So I guess that's it, Dave. Good discussion on the selfie camera. I honestly didn't think we'd be able to go that long on it, but I guess there's a little more to it than I thought. And I guess that's a good thing.
It. Oh yeah. There are always news, little tips and tricks. Yeah,
for sure. So we'll have links to anything that we talked about in the show notes, like clips and whatever else we talked about. I'll make sure we get those links in there. And I guess we will see you all on the next one.
Have a great week, everyone.